The project is a long-term project that I worked for 7 years. It started almost by chance in Montreal, where I met this mother and daughter. They're also Russians, like me, and so we connected first on that ground because they were part of some cultural event that the mother was organizing. And so I discovered the relationship between them, which was very unique, I thought, because they interacted like two sisters, and it was very hard to tell at times who is the one, the leader in the family, who is the one that really holds the control. And so I started from that point, and of course I never knew that it will go for so many years. I just started because I was intrigued by them, and particularly by the child, because the girl was very wise and very mature to her age. She was only 3.5 years old when we met, so almost 4 years old. And the mother, the other way around, she seemed much more young and much more childish. So actually, when I saw her first time, I thought she was maybe a teenager, like 14, and then I found out that she has a daughter, and that she's actually my age. So it was very strange combination of things, and so I started to follow them, and just when I used to live in Montreal also for 10 years, but I met them only the last 2 years of my life in Montreal. So we started to work on the project, and then I moved out to study, to do my master's degree in New York. And so I kept coming back to Montreal every once in a while, probably maybe like twice or 3 times a year. And I would stay with them in their apartments, and so I could be, much closer, and we became friends. And of course, most of the scenes are staged, but they're not completely, like they're staged, but there's always in between element, because I never, most of the times I didn't come up with an idea before coming to them. I would come to their place and I would look at what, they also changed places about 3 times, so I would look how their environment looked at this time and how their relationship evolved and what's new, and I would watch them. And sometimes I would come up with an idea, but this idea would also change while we photographed. So it was a very organic process. It was not like creating a scenario and then just following the scenario. It was really following them and the fantasy. It's a mixture of my fantasies with their world and the child world. Because also I grew up, my childhood passed in Russia, and I grew up with fairy tales and listening to fairy tales on vinyl records, and so my memories of that and mixed with the fantasies that Eve was coming up with. Every time I would come to them, she would say that she was a different character. So it was also like following her. And from this perspective, when I started to work on a book, which came out actually this year, this book is not just a catalog of this project. It's really a book because there are texts written by Eve, by the little girl. And the first time I discovered that she can write some very, amazing philosophical text was when she was 8 years old. And this photograph here actually was it's an interesting example, because this portrait, she came up completely with the whole outfit, and it started with an idea because she came to me and she said, "Oh, I'm writing a story about my planet," and she's like, "What?" But she told about her planet as if it was real. Like it wasn't like I'm writing a fantasy story. No, she's like, "I'm writing about my planet," and so I asked her, "Tell me about your planet." So she started to tell me that she has friends there, and her friends are those toys that she has there. And so she told me a little bit of the story, but she didn't finish the writing of the story. So I asked her to finish the story and to include something about her mother. And after maybe 2 months, she came up with this, like when she sent me the story, I was completely shocked. And it's an introductory story that, if you're interested, you can read. It's only 2 pages. And it's about her planet, which she wrote only when she was 8 years old. And so then that story was laying there, while I was still working on the project. And when I came up with an idea of the book, I wanted to include this story, and also I asked her to write specifically for the book to write some thoughts about her thoughts about life and important aspects that she's thinking about. So I gave her some examples, but the rest she just as a topic, but the rest she chose herself. Like a topic to write about death, for example, it was her choice. It was not my choice, like not my idea at all, you know. And so, if you're curious, just to go through the book, and if you want the book, you can have it signed today.